welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sij, and today is a good day because today I am finally going to teach you guys how to answer grade 11 as well as grade 12 questions. In my very first video of how I became a Spaniard, I said that I was a historian, that I'm not only a Spanish teacher, but I'm also a historian. I'm a history teacher. I mentioned that I was teaching at Vinduc Technical High School for a period of about 2 years. For a period of about 2 years. So today I felt like to give back to you guys. Why not teach you how to answer history questions grade 11 and grade 12? I will try to emphasize if it's ordinary level or if it's high level. As you guys know, if you are a history student of grade 11 and 12, you know that in history there are two papers, paper 1 as well as paper 2. So I'm first going to start with paper 1. Now paper 1, whether ordinary or high level, is made up of 3 sections. You have the Namibian. It's made up of 3 sections. Section 1 is of international relations. Section 2 is about Namibian history, which is Namibia under South African occupation or Namibia under the German occupation. And the 3rd section is of South Africa before 1948 or South Africa after 1948. But sometimes you also find out that there are times that you're required to answer questions of nationalism, which focuses on Botswana and Zambia. Now, in the paper 1 question, for the ordinary level, there are 3 questions, okay? The first question, which is the A question, is out of 5 marks. The B question is out of 7 marks. And the C question is out of 9 marks. Now, also for high level, it has, the same 3 questions. A question is out of 6. The B question is out of 9. And the C question is out of 10. Now, we'll first start with ordinary level. How do you answer a question A? The A question type. I am not going to answer the questions for you guys. I'm just going to give you tips of what you're expected to do for you to get full marks. Now, for the A question, ordinary level, mostly is the describe question or what question. Now, they'll ask you, describe the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, or what were the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. Here you are just required to mention them if you're an ordinary student. You don't have to write a paragraph. So, for example, you have to write them in bullet form. You have to mention that Germany had to lose all its overseas colonies. Germany had to give up a Rhineland. Germany had to pay reparation. So you're actually just mentioning. Now, when we move on to higher level with the same question of describe the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, you are expected to write the same answers, but you have to write them in a paragraph form. You don't explain them, you just write them in a paragraph. Like you write Germany had to pay reparation, full stop, and then you start with the next one, that Germany had to lose all its overseas colonies, Rhineland had to be demilitarized. That word always gets to me. And so you just write them in the bullet form. Now we move on to the B question, both ordinary and high level. You answer it the same way. The only difference is the marks allocated. For high level, you are allocated 9, and for ordinary level, you are allocated 7 marks. Now this question is a question where you are now required to explain, meaning you have to write in paragraph forms. For example, you are asked, explain why it was difficult for the big 3 to come to a conclusion. Why was it so hard to make the terms of the treaty? Now here you have to explain. For example, you have to explain that it was hard because the big 3 had different ideas of how they wanted to punish Germany. For instance, France. Let's start with George Clemenceau of France. He wanted Germany to be punished harshly. Now you have to give your reasons. Why did he want Germany to be punished harshly? It's because France was one of those countries that were badly affected by the very First World War. And then you come onto that Then you come to the second person of Britain. In this case, we are talking about Lloyd George. That Lloyd George did not want Germany to be punished so severely. Yes, Germany had to pay, but not to the extent that France wanted. And of course, we had left with the last person, which in this case is Woodrow Wilson of the United States of America. He did not even want Germany to be punished at all. Like he was just... he was one of those leaders that wanted peace, because if you are aware that it was through the Treaty of Versailles that they came up with this organization through its 14 points, and his last point, which was the the startup of an organization, of a world organization, in this case the League of Nations. So he did not want Germany to be punished. Now you have to give your reasons why he did not want Germany to be punished. Now after you've given those reasons of the three leaders why it was difficult, I can guarantee you are going to get 7 marks or 9 marks depending on which level that you are at. Now the final and last question is always in a form of a statement. It doesn't matter if it's under Namibian history, if it's under South African history, if it's under American history. It's always the same question. All 3 questions are the same. Now this one comes in a form of a statement, and as I was already for A and B, I have used Germany as an example. I'm going to continue using Germany as an example. Now this one is Lloyd George was satisfied with the terms of the treaty, or was satisfied with the outcome of the treaty. Now this question, even you agree or disagree, this is a very tricky question because they want you to speak on both sides. Okay, if you are an ordinary student, it's very easy for you because they don't need you to have a conclusion. Now for high level, it is needed that you should have a conclusion. Now you have to agree, and at the same time you have to disagree with the statement. For example, the statement, as I said, that the statement is Britain was satisfied with Treaty of Versailles. This is how you say you answer. You say I agree. You don't write to what extent, even though they ask you to what extent. People, that has been done away with. People don't say to what extent anymore. Just say I agree. I agree that Britain was happy with the outcome of the Treaty of Versailles because they got a sum of reparation. That of course was a good thing for them. Germany was not so severely punished as George Clemenceau wanted. An organization was started up, which in this case was the League of Nations. So you give your reasons as to why you agree that they were happy. They can be lesser than the disagreement, or they can be more than the disagreement. You decide. Now after you have done agreeing, you have to disagree. That I disagree that that Britain was happy because, number one, they could no longer do trade with Germany because Germany was, the economy was really paralyzed. So that means that there was no longer a business for the two of them. They could no longer trade. Just give me a second. I also have the answers here why they were not happy, where they did not agree. Germany was weakened economically. They could no longer trade with Britain. Germany lost most of her territorial land, which Britain did not like that because they felt that Germany should not be punished alone. And it was also not satisfied because the decision of the US and France was so much more on France than it was on Britain. So at the end of the day, he was not happy. So you as an ordinary student, you were done. But for high level, it does not end there. Now you have to give your conclusion, like what you think. That do you think it was fair that Germany was punished alone, or do you think that Britain was really happy with the outcome? And that is how you answer the questions of ordinary level. Paper 1, you explain. For the A question, you describe. For the B question, you explain. For the C question, you have to give both sides. And with that, we are going to be back with how to answer paper 2, which is now the most one that is really in depth. And also because I feel like paper 2 is the easiest one of them all, because your answers are right in the paper.